Hi guys, hope you're doing good. In this video, we're going to learn about how to use values and create variables. And we'll also learn about the data types that are available in Go programming language. Now let's go ahead and give some example to make you understand these things. The IDE what I'm going to use here is the VS Code. And if you want, you can go and download it. It is freely available. You don't have to pay anything for that. Okay, let me create a new file. For that, I'll need to go to File and say New File, and then for using this as a Go programming language, I may need to save it. I'll say save. I need to save this file with the extension .go. Right, I've just given Go example with the extension .go. Now your Go program is ready. Now let me give an example to make you understand the usage of values in Go programming language. To create any program in Go, I'll use package and I'll say main, right, and then I'll say import fmt. If at all you're going to use printf or scanf, anything in your any built-in functions, any built-in format functions, you may need to import fmt, right. I'll say func. To create a function, I'll be using the keyword func followed by the function name. I'll say main. I have to create a main function because that is the entry point of any executable program, right, and I have to use braces, right. I'll tell you something, people those are coming from C background, you will be using braces, and people those are coming from Python background, you will be using tab spaces, that is indentation, right. So here in Go, you will be using both. You will be using the braces and as well as the indentation, right. So the braces must start next to the function itself, right. I cannot start the braces in the next line, that is a syntax error, and the next line or the lines which comes inside the function must start with the indentation, right. So let me say fmt, let me try to print something, println. I'll tell you what is println is, right. So println function will print whatever you give and it will move the cursor to the next line by default, right. Whereas in C programming language, you will be using printf, and within that you will be giving /n, and in Python you will be using print, which takes you to the next line by default, but here you will be using println, right. So let me say 1 plus 2. Let me give you some arithmetic operation to make you understand the usage of values, right, how to use values, right. I'll say println again, let me say 3 minus 2, and I'll say fmt dot println. Let me do a multiplication, 3 into 2. I'll say fmt dot println. Let me divide it. I'll say 10 divide 5. fmt dot println. I'll say 5 mod 2, right. You should be knowing about what is plus, minus, multiplication, division, and modulo, right. This will give you the sum of two numbers, this will give you the difference between two numbers, multiplication symbol will give the product, and this will give the quotient, and finally this will give the remainder, right. So let me save it and execute it for you. To execute, you will say terminal and go to new terminal, right. Since this program in desktop, I may need to navigate to desktop, and then I'll say go run, right. This is the command to execute the Go program, right. Go run followed by the file name. I'll say go example. So when I run this, I am getting 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 minus 2 is 1, and then 3 2s are 6, 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 5 mod 2 is 1, right. Everything is perfect. But as far as Python is concerned, when I say 10 divide 2, it will give a float value, right. So you know, like people also from Python background, you should be knowing 10 divide by anything, like the division symbol will always give a float value, but wherein here in Go, it will give if you divide two integers, it will give only integer value, like in your C programming language. Let us go ahead and see how to create a variable in Go programming language. To create a variable, we'll be using the keyword called as var followed by the variable name and followed by the data type, right. As of now, I am giving just integer. Don't worry, I'll be explaining you about all the data types that are available in Go programming language. Now to initialize the value, I'll say num assign 10, and I'll say let me say fmt dot println and try to print the value, right. Let me save this and execute this for you. You're getting the value 10, right. So let me create one more variable. I'll say var again, let it be num1, let me say num2, and then int, and let me initialize num1 and then print num1 alone, right. So as of now, I am not using num2. I have declared the variable num2, but I am not using it, right? So let me try to run this code. It will throw me an error saying that num2 declared but not used. As far as Go programming language is concerned, any variable that is declared must be used. If you don't use it, then it will throw an error, right? This is for saving the memory space, right? Because if you use a variable, memory space will be allocated for you, but when you don't use it, the memory space which is allocated for that particular variable is waste. That's the reason why Go is restricting you in such a way that when you declare a variable, use it. When you're not going to use it, don't declare it at all. Okay, fine. Let me say num2 assign 20, and let me say num1 plus num2. So let me save this and run it for you again. You'll be getting 30. Fine. Okay. So let us see what are the data types that are available in Go programming language. Now these are the data types that are available in Go programming language, right? So that is bool, string, and all these things. Let me explain you one by one. Bool is a data type which stores two values, either true or false, right? These are the values that can be stored here, right? Now string can store characters, right? Any number of characters or stream of characters, and that must be enclosed within double quotes, right? So all the string must go with double quotes. People from Python background, you will be using single quotes, but here it is must that you need to use only double quotes. And these are the integer types, right, which can store both positive and negative values. We have different types of integer data types, that is int, int8, int16, 32, and 64, right? So int8 is the one which takes 8 bytes of value. 16 is can take 16 bytes of value, 32 as the name suggests 32 bytes, and 64 and so on like that. Okay, and uint means unsigned integer. It can take only positive values, right? So integer can store both positive and negative, right? And unsigned integer can take only positive values. It cannot store any negative values, right? So uint8, as it says, only 8 bytes, 16 bytes, 32 bytes, 64 bytes, and uint ptr. I'll explain you what is uint ptr in my forthcoming videos, because there's something related to pointers. So I'll be handling about it when I'm going to take about pointer, right, in the forthcoming videos. Byte is a data type that is just an alias name for my uint8, right? Already uint8 is there, it is an alias name for uint8. And rune is there, there's another data type that is an alias name for int32. Okay, so you can either use int32 or you can use rune, it's up to you. And we have float. There are two types in float, float32 and float64. And complex, right? People those are from Python background, you should be knowing complex, but people from C or C++ background, you don't know what is complex, because there is no complex data type in C or C++, right? Okay. Now when I say int, uint, and uint ptr, you can see there is no size mentioned here, right? 8 or 32 like that. So as far as like uint and uint ptr is concerned, the size depends on the system, right? If it's a 32-bit system, then your size will be 32. If it's a 64-bit system, the size will be 64. So it is totally based on the system size. So it is always advisable to use int and uint if at all you don't have any restriction of only 16-bit of data to be used or only 32 bytes of data to be used. So it is always better to go for int or uint. This is what Go itself suggests. It is not my suggestion, it is a suggestion given by Go programming language. Okay, hope you understood the data types. Let us go ahead and see some examples. Now let me say this as int32 and let it be int64, right? So I have two variables, that is num1, num2, which is int32 and int64. Now I have initialized the values. Let me try to add this values, right? So two values, that is int32 and int64 value. Let me try to save it and execute it for you. Let me say, I'll say go run. Now it is throwing you an error. You know why? Because it is strictly typed. As far as Go programming language is concerned, it is very strictly typed. You can't even add int32 with the int64. You can't add or you cannot subtract a data from an int8 and int16. Not possible. So only same typed data can be processed, right? Different types of data is not allowed for processing. If at all you want to use it, you may need to typecast it of other type, right? So let me typecast it of int32 type and then try to execute this for you. When I do this, you are getting the output, right? So it is very strictly typed. int32 only int32 can be processed along with it. int64 only int64 can be processed along with it. No other different data type, even though it is integer, it is not allowed. Got it, guys? Okay, fine. Now you can see this var is like 2 times it is getting repeated. Can I avoid this? Can I restrict this if it is of same data types? That's the reason why I say, like, if I say int and int, there will not be any problem, right? I said below, right, when I said like it is better to use int and uint in place of using anything else, right? Because when I say int there will not be any problem at all. Okay, so let me take this out for some time, and you see that the var keyword is repeated twice, right? That can be avoided by doing this way. I'll say in num1 comma num2 if it is of same data type, right? If it's of same data type, you can put it in one single line, right? So let me run this for you. You'll get output, right? So if it is of different data type, for example, let me give a different example for you. I'll take this out. I'm creating an integer, and then if I want to create one more variable of type float, I'll say, let me say here inum, and then here I say fnum. I'll say float, right? 32. Float, you don't have float, you have float 32 or float 64. Okay, so let me say var cnum and then say complex 64, right? You can see that every data type I'm using var everywhere, right? Can I avoid this? Yes, this can be avoided. How to avoid this? That is what I'm going to say. I can just say var and open the parenthesis and then close the parenthesis at the last after completing everything, right? So let me close it here for you, and let me create a string. I'll say string, I'll say str, and I'll say bool, I'll say bval, right? So these are the values that are created. So here you are giving var once and then enclosing all these things inside the parenthesis, right? So this will solve the problem of doing var again and again, right? So let us I've created the variables, I've declared the variables. Now let me try to print the variables and see what are the default values for that, right? Every variable will be having a default, every type will be having a default value. Let us see what are the default values. Let me say I num, right, and then say fnum, you have cnum, and you have bval. And let me try to print the string in a different line because there's a purpose for it. Why I'm doing it, I'll tell you. I'll say str. Let me clear the screen for you. We are going to see what are the default values if I declare a variable, right? When I declare a variable in C, the default value will be garbage value, right? But in Go programming language, it will not take any garbage value. Let me save this for you. Okay, str and bval, it is throwing some error. Okay, I made a mistake, guys. It should be variable followed by the data type. Sorry, it's my mistake. It's a typo, right? I was just wondering what was the error. So variable followed by the data type. It is not the data type followed by the variable, right? In C, it will be the data type followed by the variable name. In Go, it is the variable followed by the data type name, right? It's like people, those who go from different programming language, sometimes you get confused with this, right? So I'm sorry, it was my mistake. Right, 1 minute. Let me execute this for you again. So when I execute, you're getting 0, 0, 0 plus 0, false, right? So for integer, 0. For float, it is providing 0. For the complex, it is 0 plus 0 I, but that is how the complex value guys. And then for Boolean value, it is false. And what is for string? It is not printing anything. It is just coming to the next line and then just going off. That's all. To print a string, right, I cannot use printf directly. I have to use a format specifier, that is q, right? So for printing this uninitialized string, right, I may need to use %q. Now let me run this for you. Okay, what you're getting here, let me put a slash n because printf doesn't go to the next line by default. Only println will go. Printf will stay in the same line. So let me run it again for you. You are getting 0, 0, everything is initialized, and the string is initialized with double quotes. That is means empty string, right? There is nothing in that. It is an empty string. That is what it is trying to say to you. Okay, fine. Now you understood how to create more than one variable under var. Okay, now I'm going to tell you how to initialize a value without creating the variable like that, right? So let me say if I want to create a variable, right, I can say num colon assignment operator. This colon assignment operator is called as the short assignment operator, right? So we can use this short assignment statement in place of var definition. Var definition, if you feel that var definition is not required for me, I can directly use a shorthand assignment statement, right? So let me say 10, I'll say inum. So this will take the type as per the value that you're giving, right? So if I give 10 here, it will take the type of inum as integer, right? Let me say fnum and then say colon assign, I'll say 10.34. This will take it as a float, right? And then say cnum and let me initialize it to 1 plus 2i, and I'll say str colon assign, let me give my name, right? Now these variables are there. Let me try to print it. So here you can see that it is not required for me to use any data type. By default, whenever any value comes in stores, as per the type of the value, the data type will be assigned to it. Okay, so let me try to print it. I'll say inum, fnum, cnum, and then say str. So let me try to save this and run it for you. Okay, it's a typo error, fnum, right? Okay, so you're getting 10, 10.34, 1.2i, and then Samuel. You can ask me why I'm not using percentage here for printing. It's only for if it is uninitialized. If I don't initialize any data to my string, then I have to use percentage q to print the double quotes alone, right? So now since it is initialized, it is not required for me to use the format specifier there, right? Okay, now it is initialized and it is giving me the type. If I want to know the type of everything, right, I'll be using a printf to provide you the type. Let me tell you the printf and then let me give the type. If I want to print the type of every value, I'll be using format specifier called as %v. So let me say %v, %v, %v. So let me run this for you. You will get, oops, sorry, %t, %v for value. I'm sorry, I have to use %t, I forgot. So %t, I missed it. Let me run this for you again. So it is printing int, float 64, complex 128, and string, right? So printf doesn't go to the next line by default. I have to give it by using /n. Let me clear the screen for you. Let me run it again. So you're getting int, 10 is integer, yes, it is float 64. By default it takes float 64. By default it takes complex 128, and then it is next, finally it is string. Okay, hope you got it, guys. You have two types, one is complex 64 and complex 128, but it will always take by default complex 128, and you have float 32 and float 64. By default it takes float 64 because my system is a 64-bit system. If your system is a 32-bit system, then it will be 32 and 64. Got it? Okay, fine. Hope you understood this. Fine, guys, I'm done with this video. If you have any doubts or queries, please comment in the comment section. I'll definitely get back to you. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.